Hey there, you mean DC fans. Hopefully, I got that right. Welcome if you are new. I am Mantis, and today we are going to be getting back into Martian Manhunter Absolute Version, issue number 2. It's going to be solo me today, and yeah, let's jump right on into it. All right, guys. Yeah, so today we are going to be getting back into the Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 2. Unfortunately, I got some bad news for you. I know it's terrible to start the video like this, but this issue doesn't have much substance, so this is going to be a quick one on us. This issue starts out kind of the way the last one did to an extent, where you have uh, John you see visions of this terrible event happening. You see two dead people that are watching, the Wheel of Fortune or some game show, and you see the killer. He's got blood on his face, and he's standing there, almost like a premonition of what is going to happen or has already happened. And it switches to John. He's walking down the street. He's smoking, which was a very interesting thing. Again, the first issue, him being in the hospital after an explosion, there was everyone was smoking. The doctors, the nurses, it seemed like everyone was smoking. Here, there's more people smoking. There's John smoking. The smoke coming out of his cigarette is turning into the Martian, because the next several pages here is John trying to come to grips with he's talking to himself. He thinks there's something wrong with him. He wants to go back to the hospital because he's seeing this alien who is talking back to him, this Martian, show up in street signs, stop signs, inside of papers, and he's having conversations with himself, essentially is what it kind of looks like, to outsiders, because he's just walking willy-nilly down the street talking to himself. Which, forget, if I saw that, I'd be like, yeah, this dude's crazy. In any event, he's kind of having a panic attack to an extent, and you see the Martian, and I'm going to just say this is more of like a schizophrenic type of relationship here. His powers, the Martian takes over and calms him down, makes him see visions of his past, especially his honeymoon with Bridget, his wife, kind of calms him down a little bit. And he comes back and realizes he's still walking, arguing with himself. Trying to come to grip with how he can, move forward with this other personality. Trying to tell him, you're not from Mars. You're just too much. You're something wrong with me. Too much pressure on me. Too much anxiety. Work. Stuff like that. Well, he's walking along. And he sees this baby who is the baby Martian, and then he starts to lose it again, and yell and scream at the baby, just like Psycho Pete did in Sunny in Philadelphia.
To babies in carriages and just scream in their faces, they cry.
Dude, that was psycho.
Screaming in babies' faces. He's screaming. This freaks this mom out. But in between there, you do get another vision of the killer leaving the scene of the crime in his car and driving away. So what you kind of see here is a little glimpse of what the Martian can do. Psychic powers, telepathy, mind control. Because right after that, he gets another premonition with Martian vision. You see that in the panel, as I'm assuming what this power is, because it kind of takes a hold of John, and he gets all of these images, these thoughts, and these feelings, and they're all that multicolor smoke. As we discussed previously, that is kind of the Martian using his ability, using his power. So, the Martian asked John, what do you see? And, he's kind of showing me, like, you can see other people's thoughts. You can see past memories of these people, even of your own. Because there for a minute, he does get a view of the Mrs. Donnelly sunbathing, which, he's a kid looking through the fence at the hot neighbor. So be it. So as he's continuing to walk, basically talking with himself through half this issue, actually, He finally sits down on a curb and is having a conversation with a mailbox, who is, again, the alien or the Martian. Sorry, he's trying to tell him that, like, oh, this killer is from Damascus, and he is targeting. It looks like people who he thinks is invaders or illegal migrants is kind of what I'm getting from this. So we're going a little political here. Because then you kind of see the killer's face in the background of this page saying, invaders, aliens from space, body snatchers wearing human skin. Again, it's kind of a double use here because that's what John is kind of thinking. This Martian voice in his head is doing as well. So that he echoes what the killer is saying, invaders. But then he says, "Trigger open fire in 3, 2," and there's this countdown because that's when all of a sudden you see the killer start to open up on a crowd of people and saying, he's thinking they're trying to replace us. That's when John gets a call on his phone about an ongoing possible or active shooter event right now. He jumps in his car along with the Martian who's riding in the passenger seat of the car with him. Mentally he sees him there. And, they're flying. He's flying through. You see visions of the killer again walking through with all the dead bodies sadly behind him as John and the Martian try to race to stop it. John gets there, gets out, sees all of the destruction behind him, and the Martian's powers, he can see kind of what the killer's thinking at this point. He can even see the thoughts, or at least the last thoughts of some of the people that have died or they're in the process of dying. And that's when the Martian says, I'm going in. And you see him kind of jump into the killer's mind. You see him using his abilities to read the mind of the killer. And it shows, he can see some of these past events, some things that are going on. And all along, also, he makes the killer think that his name is one of his buddies, Clyde Toomis. So he's using his power and planting in these memories inside there of him and Clyde Toomis going, in Boy Scouts and being friends when they were younger. So then the killer's like, "Oh, what are you doing here? I know you, but what are you doing here?" And that's kind of when he's trying to talk him down. At this point, John's thinking maybe I can talk him out of this. We can get, we can catch up. Let me put the gun down, type of thing. And that's when the other cops show up and kind of break the line of, I don't call it hostage negotiation, but essentially he's trying to talk down this mass murderer. And that, John turns around and he's like, "Guys, stay back. I'm talking. Hold on. Don't do anything stupid." All the meanwhile this is going on, the Martian is also still looking through the killer's thoughts. And this is where it's interesting. Inside Trigger's mind, the Martian has found something. Level 18, delusion, hallucination, brain rotter. So it's almost like, it's a virus, and the Martian is going through his head, finding this virus that's causing this behavior for him to go to be evil, right? And it's like, bad idea, everyone's enemy, blah blah blah. And you see the Martian kind of use the power to erase that, because boom, he erases it, eradicates that bad memory. And then you see the killer say, "I didn't want," he was confused. "I didn't think, I didn't need," maybe he had fixed him. Fix is an easy cured. Let's use that. Cured him. And right as that happens, one of the other cops just, shoots him right through the head. Boom, blows out his head. The Martian is kind of seeing all of this happen from inside of his head, or his power, because he's inside his head what he's using when he gets shot. And you can kind of see some of that play out there on with the artwork. And then it ends up with John back in his captain. I'm assuming it's his captain, whoever his federal boss is. Telling me you should have taken him. You shouldn't have done that. It was very dangerous. You were just talking to him. And he's like, "I was trying to find, a way to get out of it, without the worst possible ending to the story." And John goes home and he lays down in bed, and his wife's, how was your day? How was work? And he's like, yeah, it was good, the usual. And then you just see him laying there as the Martian. Now again, not much happened in this. You kind of get displayed again what the Martian's power is, but also maybe John accepting the fact that he is the Martian Manhunter, or at least at this point, as far as John knows, he may be crazy enough that this other entity is living within inside him and has powers that could possibly help him. Because it almost did right there. It's actually futile because he did fix the issue with the killer, but it was too late because the guy ends up dying anyway, and he's kind of depressed about that. All this work, and maybe he found a way to heal him, to cure him, to find a good ending to this bad situation, and then the cop ends up killing the guy right after he, basically saves him from something maybe he didn't even know he was under attack from. So, yeah, an interesting issue. I'm not too impressed with this series, the Absolute Martian Manhunter, but we'll see where it goes. Could be cool. And that will wrap it up for this edition of You, Me, and DC. Again, I thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that jazz. And until next time, later.